It's important that we begin to tell this story about our Student Support Services Network by recognizing the individual efforts of teachers in the classroom and of some of our individual schools who have really been working hard to meet the needs of all kids in their classrooms. In our last strategic planning effort, we had a lot of conversation about how do we meet the needs of more kids. So we really found it to be a strategic priority that our families, that our communities, that our stakeholders were telling us we need to make inclusion practices a part of who we are as Catholic schools. The Student Support Services Network amplifies the efforts of individual schools and individual teachers, allowing them to collaborate around best practices to lift all our schools so that ultimately we can serve the whole family.
We do know that in terms of exceptional students with special learning needs, that this number is growing, it's not going down. And so if that's where things are headed, then we need to be there too, because we want to keep the families together. Parents are busy, in terms of chauffeuring their kids around. How many stops at schools do you have to make in the morning? And I think it'll make for a better community of learners. It's not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic, but you have to learn to relate to people with all kinds of talents and all kinds of needs. And I've seen this in a number of our schools that do such a wonderful job of welcoming and valuing students with special learning needs that it really changes all of the students for the better.
In order to best meet the needs of our diverse learners, all of our students, we knew we needed to work together. Instead of working in isolation, let's get everybody around the table. Let's share our best practices and how we are addressing the needs of our students. So it's been an evolution. So it's an exciting time to be part of the diocese.
Our Student Support Services Network has been meeting consistently now on a monthly basis, which began in March of 2017. Those who can't attend can see all of our notes. They can see all of our agendas, all the topics we've worked through, and they're always invited to join into a future meeting, which has happened over time. We started with a small group, and every month new schools are joining us.
The work of the Student Support Services Network is on a wide range of topics, depending on the needs and the audience of who we're speaking to. We present to each other and brainstorm on best practices within our network of inclusive educators. And then we've also opened up our meetings to general education teachers, to counselors, to school principals and leaders, and they've all been well received. We've presented and discussed topics such as transitioning exceptional learners from middle school to high school, emotional and mental health, interpreting data.
I'm very, very glad for the Student Support Services Network. In a sense, they're pioneers and they're mentors, because this is exactly where we need to be headed. We're not there yet, but I think we have to continue to be moving in the direction where we are indeed welcoming as many students as we can. God is accessible to everybody. And so we want to make sure that our Catholic students have accessibility to schools where God is esteemed and where religious values are taught and one can pray and enter into the great joy of celebrating the sacraments.
We're fortunate to have a diocesan alliance with the Christian Learning Center Network. Our story would not be possible without the CLC network. They have provided professional development for our school leaders because it's important for all of our school leaders to see this vision of inclusion and to imagine what that looks like in their schools.
CLC Network exists to equip congregations and schools to glorify God with purposeful and innovative inclusion of persons of all abilities. So we're really pleased to be able to do that with the Diocese of Grand Rapids and with lots of other schools and churches across the country. Part of what the Diocesan Alliance allows us to do is to come alongside a larger group of schools in supporting students of all abilities within the community.
Some of our schools have individual partnerships with the CLC network where they come into your school and walk side by side with you to help you through the inclusion process. And there's a few of us here who have been in either the Notre Dame program or Loyola's program for inclusive education, where we have taken our knowledge back to the group. We're all wanting to help each other grow.
The mission of the church is to open wide the doors to Christ, and the Student Support Services Network helps us to do that by opening the door wide to all our families so that we can serve all their children.